Dual set.
안녕하세요. Noonas podcast입니다.
And we're back. We took a week off, but we're back.
We took a nice relaxing break. And then we're all ready because we just they stuck K-pop industries have stuck a lot of work into our podcast or into our busy lifestyle.
Something
we may be on break. We may be on break, but the industry is never on break.
No, we needed a bit of a mental break after this just onslaught of new releases, and we just hit peak this week as we're going to talk in this week's episode of the Noonas podcast. Again, part of the Metropolis Collective. Again, big shout out to everybody at the Metropolis for letting us crazy Noonas come hang out with them and be on this network just talking about K-pop and all things K-pop. So in Korea,
we hope to continue supporting our channel and hopefully we can get more insight in what we talk about and mostly in the K-pop society and K-pop business.
Pretty much. So, we took a bit of a break because just had a bit of a slower week, which we kind of need to catch our breath because this last 5 days have just been insane in terms of just K-pop stuff between BTS's album dropping this past Friday. We also had NCT's album, just the second half of their comeback just happened on Monday. We've also had a debut of a new girl group that happened the previous week. So we just kind of had to catch our breaths and just okay, we're getting ready. So we are going to go right full into it today because we have so much to talk about. And I don't think we should hold off. I think we should just get right into it. We should start with our thing today, right?
Yeah, let's just get this over with then, Henny.
It's like ripping the Band-Aid off. So we've got a ton to talk about today. And the first thing we're going to talk about today is that new debut that happened on March. I don't even know what month it is anymore. November.
Last week. Let's say last week from when we're recording this today.
Yeah, for last week. It was on November 17th. We had the debut of the new girl group from SM called aespa. Which is a very interesting concept that they're going to do. And I will say this, SM is pretty notorious for dropping their concepts of groups, I feel like. Because
they're really ambitious in what they're doing right now with their concept because they're progressing more into this more sci-fi, more of this epic superhero cinematic universe, and we'll explain more in what they're doing with all these groups and all their music videos and how they're going to connect together.
I guess considering we kind of have that with Super M, which as we've talked about is the Avengers of their quote unquote Avengers of K-pop. Which, it's just as the Avengers within SM Entertainment, basically.
SM Entertainment. I think the real Avengers, if they're gonna mesh in within different company labels, that's true Avengers-ish right there.
Oh, we might have to do this talk, the actual Avengers of K-pop. This might have to be a topic one day we talk about. So I'm putting a pin on that for later. But we've had, because I'll talk about because we've had EXO. They're their original concepts all this superhero, they all had supernatural powers, and that got dropped immediately.
And they they live in two different planets, one for the Korean members and one for the Chinese members. But things that happened to the Chinese members and they dropped out except for one. It's got really complicated. I think that they kind of still retain some of the concepts of, because with Kai he's still doing the teleportation thing in his videos and in his solo. So they still do a bit, but not too much anymore. Plus their budget's probably going to run out.
Their AUs are a little not as developed. I say we kind of go to big heads where you have BTS and TXT, who have pretty set up AUs, but they don't influence the music. It's just a whole separate thing. It's they're fully on this, which I guess a group I would say it kind of does is ATEEZ, but ATEEZ is for the way they have it is super loose that they can actually kind of flow in and out of this AU. So
they're more grounded, whereas SM they're trying to go big and ambitious with their plots and what they're trying to do in the future. So it can be difficult for them to plan out.
Depends on, because ATEEZ is now dealing with world hopping, so I'll talk about that eventually one day, especially after the variety show, how that ended. So, but yeah, let's get into aespa. So
yeah,
aespa is a current 4-member group, and I say current because there is a rumor that they're going to add new members to aespa. But they debuted on the 17th with their single Black Mamba. With a music video with the 4 members. And yeah, I mean, do you want me to kind of go into my feelings about it, or do you want to go into your feelings about it, Ginny?
Maybe you can go in with your thoughts about it.
With my thoughts, because I'm sure you have a lot.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, because this has been one of the biggest, because like I said, SM has not debuted a new girl group since 2014, 15. When did Red Velvet debut?
I want to say I think it was 2014 or 2015.
I think it was 2014. I think Red Velvet's been around for a while, and that was the last girl group to debut with SM Entertainment. So, them having a new girl group is a really big deal. But just all the stuff that's kind of happened, with aespa's coming this debut and the whole AR aesthetic that we've touched on previously, where they all have these AR counterparts that more or less look like video game characters, and
look like the ideal personas of themselves, like the original looks, so to say.
Exactly. Yeah, something like that. And again, it's drawing a lot of controversy because it's very similar to what we've seen with KDA, and KDA has been very, very successful with what they do. And I mean, yeah, this whole debut has been kind of just murdered under a little bit of controversy, but I guess in SM's case, any bad publicity is still, publicity. I feel like in their terms, something like that, because it
feels like they're not making a big deal, or not really responding to the controversies, or just getting it pushing through with their promotion of the new group, so to speak.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the only thing we've had is they only dropped one song with their debut. They dropped, so there's no debut album. It's just the one single, Black Mamba, which also dropped the same day. And I will say this, Black Mamba is there's a lot happening in the music video itself.
You know how I'm gonna I guess critique about this song and video. It's mostly a style over substance type of music video. It is a pretty a visually stunning debut for this new girl group. People will remember how it looks, right? So we'll talk about the controversy later, but I think it's the song itself, it's kind of just like any other girl groups right now. And I don't think people will remember how the song goes out, and it doesn't help that their debut came up close to other new groups like Secret Number with Got That Boom, with some kind of similar visuals, this really colorful, vibrant visuals, and even Stacy as well with their So Bad song. So yeah, that's pretty much what I have. Thinking about the song itself.
Yeah,
cool visuals. It's just
I'm not gonna lie. It's it sounded very much like Blackpink to me. SM is trying to pull off their version of Blackpink in terms of the sound.
SM Blackpink, yeah.
Because obviously we've seen the success of Blackpink, especially here over in the Western world. And obviously a lot of groups now are trying to are also trying to curb on that whole, breaking through into the Western market. We've seen that more and more. And so that kind of hip hop heavy, produced sound is completely, in this track. But yeah, it's very much style over substance. The lyrics itself, there's a lot of talk in the lyrics about them trying to promote this whole side I don't know how to call it, a side business side thing that they're doing with the members, where they're the way they're having them interact with the fans, or I guess have the ARs interact with the fans. They're creating this whole platform.
Yeah, well, I do appreciate the lyrics. They're not some typical romantic, or Blackpink is doing with in terms of romantic lyricism. But while it's different, it talks about something else, and some I think they're prioritizing too much on like the bigger narrative, like on their story rather than like composing like some like an effective debut song, you know. And it's just like they're like thinking more about like the story, like the whole bigger picture itself. You should have like just like focus more on just like having them like have a good start, like, you know, give them a good push, not just like jump overboard and like, you know, kind of like how DC is doing with their like cinematic universe, like just going overboard.
So,
and I felt like they're like doing the same something similar with you know, aespa, like.
Yeah, it definitely, like, if you want to compare it to like, yeah, like the DC universe in terms of movies where like they kind of like, oh shit, we're behind the 8 ball and Marvel's got this whole, you know, beautiful universe set up. Shit, we need to get the Justice League out there right away.
By the coattails, yeah,
exactly.
Just, like, putting up, like,
it kind of feels like that. It feels like this because there's been talks, and it's kind of starting to get teased a little bit, that SM's trying to establish this whole like alternate universe with all their music videos that are tying together, so all the artists,
with all the different groups. And
so you're talking like, obviously XO, Super M, NCT, Red Velvet, aespa, like
and BoA.
You're talking BoA too, and I'm assuming SHINee now that SHINee's back, which I don't.
SHINee's back.
Yeah. Also, yeah, SHINee's back. But yeah. I don't even know how SHINee would tie into this, because SHINee's sound is way different.
Oh yeah, like, because like the R&B, like the more like heart to heart thing, and then yeah, I don't see them as like this really futuristic type of like group, like what Super M's like promoting them as. It's like, yeah, like, so I'm kind of like curious how they're gonna drag into this.
Like, the only way they pull in is Taemin, because Taemin's in Super M. That's the only way. Yeah, and I don't know how they would tie that in.
Taemin's like the Nick Fury of like the whole SM universe.
I can't do this because, again, I have too many other theories and too many other universes within K-pop. So this is not helping my brain whatsoever.
Yeah, no.
Oh my god. Oh yeah, it's just because it's very much
all over the place. Like the organization and like the planning of things is like like we're doing this now, even after like Marvel also like just ended, or I guess like really closed out like their whole like grand universe narrative now, and I think they're going like smaller with like their stories. But yeah, it's funny, like SM is just like finally riding the coattails at this point. Like, wait, why are you doing this now? You could have done this like before.
It's definitely, I think it's a little too ambitious. Also, because I just read too that out of all the out of the big three companies, they're the only ones who've like lost money, like a lot of money. I'm like, so where's their money going? Like, they're making all this money, but
like the universe building.
It's like, how are you? I don't know how you maintain this, because again, this whole virtual AR thing. So there's a lot obviously going into the AR stuff. And
which I find like amusing though, because I expected like they're gonna use like too much of like the avatar counterparts, like they're gonna be doing like some kind of like performance in one part, but they never did actually. They're just gonna be like stuck in the reflection. That's what they use them for. So like that's it.
I was very surprised. We didn't actually see them like actually have the avatar selves of them doing the choreography, although we never really got a clear shot of the choreography in the first place. But I digress.
I don't know if it correlated because of the fan concerns of like what they're going to be doing with the avatars. But I do like at one side, like I at least appreciate that, you know, they're you know, like putting their time on the original group themselves and like showcasing their talents instead of like focusing on like the fake characters, like those avatars. So I think there's like a bit of a plus side into this whole situation.
I guess, yeah, good considering how much they were pushing this whole like avatar side of this, you know, of this group. And it's like, well, they were barely in the video to begin with. Like, they were focusing mostly on the 4 main girls themselves. But even then, like, too, like, I can't get like a distinct feel for each one of them. Like, in some groups, like, you can kind of get that feel from the first video of like who the member is, their kind of like position and stuff. Again, I'll kind of go back to EXO with I think Mama was their first single.
Yeah.
When you had the Chinese and the Korean teams, because it was 6 and 6, and like at least at that point, like I could kind of get an idea of like who was who and like what their talents
are. Yeah, the positions
and their powers, yes. But like they all kind of blended together, and it's just like I can't really determine like who is what. Not like it's not like a Blackpink situation where I know like you can kind of know who does what in the group.
Yeah, I think the one who's like standing the most is like Karina, and then second would be Winter, like the members, and then like Meaning and Giselle, like they're kind of like at the back. Right, like they're not really like portrayed or like really, I guess like shown like what kind of like positions or unique talents that they have on their own.
Yeah, it's
plus they've been like promoting too much of Karina, I guess, more than anyone from the group.
Yeah, and I know fans were not so happy about using Karina because apparently she's been it's just been a lot of issues with her too. So this also kind of establishes my point where I think they kind of pushed this out a little faster than they were intending because of the whole Irene scandal we had. And they're like, we have a girl group coming just to cover up the whole Irene scandal from earlier this fall. And so, yeah, it's like I'm gonna have to give it some time. Like I'll say this, it's not on my rotation currently. Black Mamba. It's just it's a little too generic for me, and like I can't. Like I said,
it's blended with any other like girl crush groups like going on right now.
Yeah, and like at least like with Twice and like with Red Velvet and like with any of those other girl crush groups, like they have an established like sound. At least they're experimenting out
identity.
Right. Yeah. And at least expanding out of their sound. Like again, I Can't Stop Me with Twice. That was playing on the, obviously the whole retro sound that we've been seeing now, but like it still looks a step out of like what they've done. And so at least it was kind of a progression. But yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen with aespa. I'm not sure how SM is gonna pull off this whole SM universe, I guess we're gonna call it, between all their music videos.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how they're just like pulling that out right now, because I think it started when did it really start? I think it was with Super M's like with their one video and how they tease aespa at the end. Yeah, I don't know when it really started, but it's been like happening like frequently.
I think it started with one, because I think it started when they have now that closing little like rev of the engine when they flash SM Entertainment at the end of their music videos, which started with one, Monster and Infinity, and now we had aespa. And then we're going to get into NCT with their second half of their debut of their comeback here. So, and I feel like some of that ties into this. So we'll transfer into NCT here in a second. I just want to finish up our thoughts here. Yeah, it's it's gonna take me a little bit, I think, to warm up to see if aespa is going to grab me.
They only came out with this one song. They didn't have like a mini album to give us like a full impression with. So we probably need to wait until we can like get a better understanding about this group, and like like maybe SM should like really just like focus some like on them as like a group instead of like thinking about like the whole universe building, because it's not gonna do well on like for aespa and how they're gonna succeed for themselves as like one group.
Right. So, because I mean, what happens if this whole universe thing falls apart? Then what does aespa go back on? So, yeah, I agree. We need to have an actual not a full album. We can have a mini album from them, like a couple songs. Much like we're going to get from Hyphen next week when they drop their debut. I know that's going to be a 5 or 6 songs on their album. Least, so that's a good debut.
Yeah, at least like what I could actually appreciate. I appreciate more of like their debut stage video more than like the actual music video itself. At least they actually displayed a really good production on like the live stage, as well as like really showcasing their talents. Like and you can like really see like how how good and how much potential that they have as either singers or like dance performers. So yeah, like that gave me more hope than like the music video itself.
Oh, that's a good sign at least. I mean, because half of it obviously is them performing on stage, especially with music shows and stuff, and obviously concerts. But yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait.
Like, it's not jarring because they like do like teasers of like some like their next work or like some other like SF group. So yeah, it wasn't jarring than like the music video itself. So yeah, that's why I appreciate the debut stage video more.
That's good to know. That's really good to know. I have yet to watch their debut stages because everything just kind of fell apart with all these comebacks. So, but yeah, I mean, I think, I'm just a little disappointed with just how rushed this all feels from SM. But
it is rushed. That's like a good way to put it.
Yeah, but something I guess I don't know if this is rushed because we've got to eat the second half of this comeback from NCT because now we are back with Residence Part 2. Part 2. We had Part 1 in October? We had Part 1?
Yeah, October.
Yeah, so we're back with Residence Part 2. So I will say this, it is a rate package of Part 1. But they did add, I think they added about 8 new songs?
8 songs.
To the album?
8 songs, I guess 6, like with full songs, and then like the 2 songs were just like interlude, like short interlude and outros.
Oh, that's true. Because we we have the interlude and then there's an outro too at the end. So we got 6 new songs completely with different groupings within the NCTU title. Because that's again what they do. They just kind of shuffle everybody around into different units. So, they also came back with the single 90s Love.
90s Love.
That's wow. I was not expecting to like flash back to my childhood with the songs. I'm like, I'm old.
I like how I don't know how much influence Mark had on this video, but like the hockey aesthetics, and his Canadian is showing. And out of all the hockey teams that you picked, Mark, you picked the Oilers for your for your jersey design. Really? I think the Oilers were pretty big. Yeah, my city's team. I felt kind of like. Really? And then I kind of felt like happy, like I get like some good representation. But I think it makes sense since like the Oilers were pretty big in their games, like I think during like the late 80s and 90s. So it does make sense that they're gonna reference them.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense that they wanted to reference them because, like, you also kind of get like also the Mighty Ducks because, like, the Mighty Ducks was like a huge movie series back in the 90s. So, but you can't really steal the Ducks logo because that's kind of a whole copyright thing. But anyway. No, I really did. I really dug 90s Love as the comeback. It's a very cute video. It's chaotic as most NCT is, but like but I kind of enjoyed how they tied in the hockey with it. But like basically it's like a video game. And there you see them playing like the old like NES and old PlayStation, like PlayStation 1. Yeah. We're talking PlayStation 1 days, guys. So like I'm like, thank you for like at least picking like those aesthetics and like bringing those 90s aesthetics and like some of the outfits too. Like I felt like
I kind of felt like the whole hockey theme is like overshadowing like the rest of like the other references they wanted to do. Not like what BTS did with like Dynamite, since they have like a lot of like either showcase like a lot of like bands or like in one room or like different like settings. For NCT, they only had like the hockey thing, and the other reference that they're trying to make is I couldn't even remember as much as the hockey thing that they have mainly in the video, but it's still like a pretty cute like homage to the 90s, like the era, and pretty much what I grew up in since I'm a 90s kid.
Yes, well, I guess I can quote say I'm a 90s kid, even though I'm born in 89. So, but like again, last 6 months of 89. So technically, I guess I'm a 90s kid. I grew up in the 90s, so that counts for something, right? And, like that is my like formative years of the 90s. So, like it's just fun and having that sound, like that New Jack Swing sound. Throughout it,
they really took influence of that era and like the golden age of hip hop. Like you can really hear like the beat and the trumpets, like pew
Yeah.
That's the kind of like the thing. Sorry if I'm like replicating it too wrong, but you know what I'm trying to say here.
No, like all the, like the looping and like all the distortion and stuff that they had throughout like the 90s and that sound, like, you know, you have like the loops and stuff, like, you know, you see back in like the early 90s, like you remember like talking about it, like in the early 90s, when you talk about like hip hop. So it's just, it's a fun song, like kind of going, I guess, again on this whole retro thing we're going on, but it's a little bit more like nostalgic.
More 90s,
yeah, it's more in the 90s nostalgic instead of like the 70s, 80s nostalgic we've been seeing as of late throughout pop music. So this is kind of going back to more 90s, which I still feel like we still do a lot of 90s stuff still influences music today, because the 90s were obviously a big era for pop, for hip hop, for rap. Like a lot of stuff came out in the 90s that really influenced music into today.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a really fun track. That's all I can say.
Yeah, and I think maybe we could like talk a bit more about like the album. Have you listened to the whole album?
I have listened to everything from part 2. It took a little bit because I was like, I'm trying to figure out, because they kind of mixed in a couple of the new songs with the stuff from Resonance Part 1, and then it went like back into Resonance Part 1, and then the second half was like almost all new stuff, or it wasn't even the second half. Like the second,
listened to the separate like version of it. So I just listened to like the 8 tracks themselves and how like they would have like gone throughout if it were their own thing.
Oh, very nice. That's a smart idea.
Yeah.
I should have done that, but I didn't get a chance to. But yeah, I mean, did you have any songs that stood out to you with the second half, the new songs?
Yeah, so like how I like distinguish like part 2 apart from part 1. You know, with the first part, it started off like I think the part 1, like the theme and how it sounded, it mainly goes from like the upbeat like futuristic theme, and then while they transition with the part 2 into a more, I think, calmer, slower, a bit of like a cooler atmosphere when it comes to like the musical keys and pitch, and it's like it kind of like a good slow down of like the throughout the whole album. So it's just like, and they still continue to make homages of like the classic African American genres, such as like the 80s like soft rock. Like I could like say, you know, like NCT is like the My Everything. It's like a really slow song, and all I could think of is like the other like classic from Jeffrey Osborne, like On the Wings of Love.
Oh my god.
Yeah, like they have like a really good homage of like good retro like soul R&B, like with, you know, like golden age of hip hop with 90s love, and then like taking more of the R&B, like such as Boys to Men and Joe Dacey, and even like a bit of like with you know, the song IOU. I think that's probably like my favorite track from like one of my favorite tracks from the album. So it kind of reminds me of like that late 70s like soul sound, like Elon's Rock and Roll Gangster. It kind of felt like similar with them NCT's IOU. So yeah, it felt like such I guess like a bit of like reference and a bit of nostalgia, like listening to those and how much I think they really love those old classics, and they took so much influence from. So I really appreciate like you know, them putting so much honor into those old original artists in America. So yeah, I think I prefer like part 1 because it feels more upbeat, but I appreciate like how, you know, they slow down with the part 2.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, part 1 is very, very upbeat, like throughout, because you have all the unit tracks, like everyone changing, you know, different units and all these different combinations, and then you go in and you actually see like their main units, like you have Green, you have 127, then you have Wavy, and you see like them in their, you know, in their groups that they're mostly in. But then, yeah, it's like, yeah, I agree. Like I owe you and My Everything, I was not expecting like more of like a slower jam song kind of thing, but especially because like a lot of stuff, like there's a lot of production to their albums and stuff, and it just feels a little more stripped down, a little bit more
subdued,
to me, and a little more acoustic, I guess, in a way. I mean, it's still, obviously there's still production behind it, but it just feels so stripped down compared to what we've heard from them. And, you know, it's just 3 of them. It was just Taeil, Xiaojun, and Raejun and My Everything. So, you know, to have a 3-person unit song on this album was a surprise.
It's a good, it's a nice,
it's a really nice surprise. Yeah, it's a really nice surprise. I am looking forward to seeing the video for Work It come on the 27th, which is the next video they're dropping, because apparently the way they're dropping the album in person, like the actual physical copy of the album, there's the Departure and the Arrival version. The Departure version was supposed to drop on Monday the 22nd, unfortunately, or Monday the 23rd, excuse me. However, there were some printing issues, so those albums all got pulled. So those are not available currently. So everything's available currently online. Only they're going to be releasing, and I guess people who've already got their albums are able to return them. So with the fix without any cost to them, which good on SM.
That's cool.
But I don't know if that means that the Arrival version is going to get delayed in terms of their release, because apparently that was supposed to drop on Friday the 27th. So not 100% sure what's going to happen with that. I mean, I'm still waiting for my damn BTS album to show up, but that's me.
I could also say, like, sorry, going back to, like, from the production to, like, the lineups of, like, the members. I'm glad that they push more involvement for Shotaro and Sunchan, since, like, they're the new members, and I'm glad they're giving them, like, more parts into this and into the second Resonance album. So good on them for and really showed, like, so much potential with these two new members, and so I'm really excited to what they're gonna do and, like, where they're gonna go, like, which group they're gonna be in, I guess.
It'll be very interesting to see where exactly, like, and we talked about this, like, where they're going to land post NCT 2020 here.
And I am curious, because I want to say, like, the outro, it's called the Dream Routine. People are kind of, like, speculating. Did you hear about this, Jenny? Because they think it was Shotaro who said, like, something like on the ending line of the song. It was like Yume wa Kano, which is Japanese for, like, dreams do come true. So people are, like, thinking, since you know how, like, 2018's the Vision outro had, like, I'm pretty sure it was Lucas, like, I see the vision, and that was, like, a sign of, like, their wavy being established, like the Chinese NCT. So I'm wondering, like, people are thinking, they're gonna have, like, a NCT Japanese lineup, and that's why, like, they had Shotaro at the end, like, saying that that ending line. So, like, I was like, oh. I really don't want to give too much hope on this, but, like, people, that's, like, a good, cool theory that I'm, like, hearing from, like, some fans, like, oh shoot.
This is right. It wouldn't surprise me, because they've talked about, like, having, like, different NCT units based on the country people are coming from. Like, eventually they're talking about having, like, an NCT, like, states, or NCT Canada or something, which would be insane. I mean, because the only member from the states is what, Johnny and Mark, I guess, like, if they're North American. Our North American members of NCT, also two of the biggest crackheads in NCT.
I know.
Their content together is hilarious. Oh my god, those two are hilarious together. But
that's like that. Yeah. Also, I wanna, before I forget, I was surprised because there was one member who wasn't really involved in this second Resonance. Then again, it was just a repackage, so I understand more. But Lucas didn't get anything from the second part of Resonance.
Yeah, that's surprising. I wonder if but then that's weird, because, like, again, Lucas and Ten are both in Super M, and I'm like,
but 10 had, like, some parts in part 2.
10's had a lot in the second part here, because I mean 10's obviously in 90s Love, and 10's also in Work It as well. So like, he's going to be in 2 of the songs here that are going to have videos. So
I was wondering if Lucas is just personally exhausted. I really hope he has his break. So I'm not sure why he wasn't involved in part 2.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, because I know there's a lot of Lucas fans. Lucas is very popular. But people need a rest.
And he's getting more shine this year, whereas they kind of use him at a minimal length of time from his previous year. So I'm glad that he's been progressing into more a major standout.
Me too. I mean,
at least he can get his break.
But then, because he's just been nonstop. Because his whole running joke is he debuted and then he didn't debut, and then he re-debuted with Wavy, so because he was part of NCT 127 for a little bit, and while they were still and now he's part of Wavy. Also part of the just chaotic mess that is Wavy.
Yeah.
Flashing back to the princess video now. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Go check out Wavy. They dressed up like princesses for Winwin's birthday, and it's because he thought they weren't going to actually seriously do it, and they all did, and they all pulled it off very, very hilariously. Also, just something funny about 10.
Masculine looking Jasmine though. Shouting is one masculine looking Jasmine. Like, woo.
Oh, I know. It's like, yeah, he's like a buff Jasmine. It's like, that's wrong, but right. I don't know. Also, 10 is Alice with his tattoos and everything. It's just a mind fuck.
And Win like looks so much like convincing, like they could pull up as female members.
Also, Henry as Rapunzel is just Henry somehow pulls off like that bitchy attitude very well, and it scares me. So
you don't call him the crack prince for nothing in Wavy.
I've fallen for the crackheads in Wavy. I somehow always fall for the crackheads, and I don't know why, but I do. There's just something about them. I'm not sure. But yeah,
it's too funny. I like funny people. That's why.
So this is why my nights usually are devolved around crackhead videos on YouTube. But yeah, I mean, for a repackage, like this is pretty nice. Like to include 6 full songs, 8 together, including the interlude and the outro, is pretty impressive. You know, for a repackage. Like sometimes they'll do repackages and they'll literally just show a new song or 2 on there, slap a new album, and ship it out. You know, to have quite a few more stuff on here and have like a full hour-long album is pretty nice. So, and plus you get to hear some of the really good stuff from part 1. So, I really enjoy it. Also, they did at least SM is smart with the whole having to wait for the package, the actual album packages. They dropped a whole bunch of photos on Tuesday of all the members from NCT and all the units and stuff, and they look really good. So I think it'll be worth the wait getting the album, because I will probably eventually pick it up. Once I finally get my BTS album. But I guess speaking of that, let's get into speaking of BTS, let's get into our third. I think obviously probably the biggest comeback that's happened is BTS's new album B, which dropped on Friday. They had a Friday release instead of the typical Monday releases we get with K-pop. We had the release because they released it. Life Goes On, the single music video. They released it midnight Eastern time, so was kind of unfamiliar territory in terms of K-pop releases, because usually you're there in the middle of the night. I think
they kind of promoted more for the US. I think they know like about the time frame of how we do, and I think they're kind of like give it more to like the North American audiences. I'm pretty sure. I
think a lot of them are now kind of doing that, because we saw that with Blackpink too, and I think Monster X did that with their last album. They promoted and they did it at midnight US time. Well, in Monster X's case, it was 11 because it was during daylight savings time ending. So I don't think they calculated that out right, because the time change is fun. But yeah, we got a new album, 8 new songs. Well, okay, 7 songs, because they put Dynamite on the album. But which I will get into actually how I think about how that fits on the album. But yeah, I mean, we all knew this was going to be a different album, just from the way they were talking about it and promoting it with all the lives and stuff, and just them talking about it. Like, it was very much a hands-on approach for them.
Yeah, I think how I'm gonna review this thing since I listened to it like for the first time not too long. So first listen, and trying to like interpret or like review it more of a musical aspect, and my subjective interpretation, how they're like composed and organized, like the tracks as a whole album. So I'll let you know like how I feel, like how it like, I guess like how it flows throughout like until the end of the album. So I'm gonna let you go first though, Jenny.
Oh, go right ahead. Go right into it.
Oh no! Like
you want me to go into it?
Yeah, I think you have like more things to say. I think more analysis on what you can get from like this album.
Probably, because I think everyone pretty much knows this. BTS is pretty much close to being my alt group. ATEEZ is a close second, but it's very close. Oh, believe me, they might be jumping to first here eventually, very soon. But I mean, this was hype, because I mean, again, COVID has basically killed all concerts and stuff for the year. And so like they basically had nothing for the year because their whole rest of the year was going to be touring for Map of the Soul 7. Mm-hmm. And so because we got Map of the Soul 7 and then we got Pandemic. So, you know, for them, I think it was just definitely kind of like this abrupt like stop for everything. And so they kind of I think they took into it. And so just, you know, from what I've heard them talk about in interviews and stuff about the album itself, like how kind of more hands-on, because like they all put in ideas for the music and stuff. Like it was everyone basically trying to compete and, you know, create, you know, what songs they wanted to do, like which all the, you know, the looping and the stuff. So, you know, it's very much, I think, more of a stripped down album, but it's still very much in the vein of BTS. Like there's,
I think that's how I see like the album. It's not as big and like not as big as like the main course that is Map of the Soul 7. I think it's more like we've calmed down, we're at the hype. I think we're just gonna like slow things down type of thing with this new album.
Yeah, it's, I mean, considering like, because we had there's so much production like regarding like with On and Black Swan,
even like, Dynamite, I guess, but you know,
even Dynamite too. Yeah, I mean, because they were very much, you know, like all the production and stuff on the back ends of these, like after seeing all those, like seeing these just like, you know, amazing performances and whatnot, and then you get this really stripped down, like introspective song, like Life Goes On, which, crazy enough, there is no choreography for Life Goes On. Which is a rarity for K-pop. Like there is no choreography to the song. Every performance they've done of Life Goes On, because they've done a few now since the music video has dropped and since it's on Friday, they've all been kind of just in this like more like casual setting, like kind of like it's like almost like every performance they've done, at least the one that I saw with Good Morning America and the one on the Late Late Show with James Corden, have been more like these like more stripped down, almost music video-esque types of performances where they're more like in these comfortable clothes, like they're in robes and stuff and they're singing, and it's a little bit more, it's more calm and stuff, but it still has
it's
this,
like slow down.
It still has this hopeful feeling to it.
It's like how I see like that one song in particular is like it still continues. I like how BTS like makes like these albums and like these songs like dedicated for the fans, and I think they still continue like this personal intimacy between you know them and like their the army. And I think with this one it's just, I think they just bring like this really comforting atmosphere like during these pandemic times. And then like if anyone was like distressed, like you know BTS is there for them to, you know, give them like more hope and like strength throughout. That's why like this setting and like the atmosphere in this music video feels like you're more at home.
Yeah. Also, shout out to the music video. The music video was actually directed by Jungkook. That's why the music video itself is very much in the aesthetic of his Golden Closet films. He's done a small series of videos, like when they had been touring and stuff, and when they've actually, because one of them, I think, when he took Jimin on vacation to Japan for his birthday, where he does these like really awesome like videos where he's always recording. It's never him in the video. It's always him like as behind the camera, and he's just recording, and he always has them set up behind music, and he has this very retro aesthetic to his videos, because I feel like it's more
not like that resolution would you see in like in usual K-pop videos, but like it looks more cinematic. Well, there's Jungkook's filming is more of like there's like a personal intimate experience. Like someone's just like holding like a camera, like a normal person.
Yeah, like the handheld camera kind of thing where he's recording and, you know, taking pictures and stuff, because he's always had an interest in video and stuff, and like he's talked about this.
Yeah, and same with Taehyung too, because he likes photography and taking pictures of like like the environment. So
Taehyung, also known as V, we're gonna probably be flipping back and forth between the real names and their stage names, because this is what happens when you're full army. But
V/Taehyung.
V/Taehyung, his actually is the one who directed all the photo shoots for the album, for all the album packaging, because I watched the behind the scenes of them doing the shooting, because he's the one who set up like where they shot, like the props, the costumes, like all that stuff, and kind of like had them set up, and like you can kind of see them directing some of them, like, and you know, they were taking their own photos. They had the little device to like click to take photos. So like it was very much like there's a lot of hands-on with this album, like with the whole thing. Like Jimin's the one who kind of helped with like setting up the flow of the album itself, like with the music and stuff, and figuring that out. Like there's been a lot of hands-on stuff with them, so it's kind of fun to see them play with that.
Yeah, I like how it with their creative input and having their like decisions held into this whole production. I like how genuine this whole thing looks, because it's not like those like you see in like K-pop videos, like it looks like a mass production look, and it's like they go into like more of like a independent type of feel, like having like the artists themselves like do their own work. So I really like admire BTS for that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody else but BTS could do this because of the clout that they have, and like they can pull off this really, like, I will say this is kind of ballsy attempt at, you know, this all the production and stuff that they're doing, because nobody else is doing it like BTS. So,
but I'm pretty sure they could like give like more I guess hopefully other like artists from like different companies, like maybe SM or JYP, like they, you know, would like have them like I guess inspire more artists to like do more things on their own, instead of like relying on bigger companies to like produce like their videos or their songs for them. So hopefully BTS could like have like this push for like the whole K-pop industry.
Yeah, hopefully it's like another door opening into the K-pop industry in terms of, you know, having more of the artists having the hands-on into their music. It's, I mean, we're seeing a little bit more with that in terms of like other groups, like Stray Kids, especially ATEEZ. I see that with too, like especially Hongjoong, that makes a lot of the stuff. He writes a lot of their music. So yeah, it's really nice. And even the whole album itself, it flows really nicely, like between the 8 songs, because I guess 7 songs, because you have a skit in the middle where the skit is
my
them
favorite song from the whole album. Just
no,
let you know, my favorite song, skit.
No, I just love the skit is actually them talking about them actually getting number 1 on the Billboard Hot 200, on the Hot 100, when they got it, because it was on Jungkook's birthday when they found out. And so they're like, hey, Jungkook, happy birthday.
Like that. Yeah, that thing would have come out as arrogant, but they still made it, you know, like at least more humbling and like funny. Like they just put that as their track. Oh, we got a Billboard. Oh wow.
Well, also, because I read the translations of them talking, and basically they're like, yeah, what you know, Billboard Hot 100 number 1 artist is literally practicing their debut track the same day, because this is what they were doing. They were getting ready for Map of the Soul 1, and they were practicing No More Dream. So they're like what person actually like goes back and actually practicing their debut track? I mean, come on. Also, I want to know what the heck Yugi said, Suga said, because he has a whole part that's bleeped out.
Oh, I know. Oh man, Suga. Yogi and his like a bunch of like rambling and cursing. Because I got this one clip of mine, like when like V or / Taehyung actually woke up like Suga, and like it pissed him off that he was swearing at him.
He just starts cursing at him.
Yeah, so I'm glad that they have like that sort of BTS, like, you know, they can pretty rough. They can be pretty rough, and like, you know, they're not like the, you know, the clean like boy band from Korea. Like they can like get, you know, like either like be nasty, or like they can like just swear whatever they want.
Oh, the amount of times I've heard Hobie say "fuck" on his live streams, like under his breath, I've actually heard him say "fuck" on his YouTube live.
Even Mark too. I know like they're Canadian, but yeah, Mark Lee from NCT also like blurts out his swearing. It's just really funny. Like it goes to how human like these idols are, and yeah, they can like swear. They can like
they can totally swear. But yeah, I like so I'm going to go back into the album here really quick before we get into obviously bigger news with BTS. But I like the flow of the album where
same here.
Life Goes On, Fly to My Room, and Blue and Gray like are very slower, like very introspective songs, especially Blue and Gray. Blue and Gray, I think I started crying.
It was made by Taehyung, right? Or written by Taehyung?
I think Tay had a lot of input in producing that one and writing that one too. Like that had a lot of his input. I know Hobie had a lot of hands, or J-Hope.
J-Hobie.
Had I call him Hobie, I'm sorry. Everybody calls him Hobie. So but he had a lot of input in a lot of the song. I mean, because obviously with Disease, like that's his song, that's his baby, is Disease, which is a standout track to me. And you can tell it's his sound.
Hip hop influence too.
Oh, you could tell because it sounds like something he would have on Hope World on his first mixtape, easily. But
he's like a classic, like 90s, 90s hip hop kid. So like I like how he still continues like that inspiration where he got the inspiration from.
But he also I love how his it sounds hopeful, but then if you actually look into the lyrics itself, like the lyrics are very like you look into yourself and stuff because he's talking about the whole thing about him about that song is like him I should be resting, but I'm not resting. Is this an illness? Why do I feel like this? That's the whole inspiration to that whole song. And it's a really great old school hip hop track. Not like 90s Love where, 90s Love is, very much like not old school, but Disease sounds like, it has those influences, but it still sounds very modern, 2020. Also I have to give a shout out to Stay with Jin and Jungkook and RM. That is the EDM song of my dreams. I want this pandemic to be over so I can be in a stadium with a bunch of armies when that bass drops and stay and just rave out. I want that. It's on top again with having interest in these really introspective lyrics. They just have these great instrumentals that they have, just the way it sounds like. I had some friends say it sounds like David Guetta back in the day, back in early 2010s. It had that very much
really more
sound.
American, European instrumentals with their album, especially with their fast-paced tracks.
Yeah, so that is that quintessential EDM. You might think of back in the early 2010s when EDM was starting to finally hit it in American airwaves and stuff, and but it works so well with what they're talking about and stuff, and with this whole them staying together, because I know it's Jin, Jungkook, and RM who are talking on this, and Namjoon, and it's every time Jungkook and Jin talk about they talk about them staying together and stuff, it's just I'm getting into my Jungkook feelings, and this is not good. I'm getting into my shit feelings. This is not good anymore.
Yeah, if you realize it has the oldest member, the middle child, and the youngest member. And then there's this one song.
Yeah, I mean, because they had 2 unit songs. You had "Stay," which is a unit song, and then you had "Fly to My Room," which is Suga v J-Hope and Jimin, which it mostly is. I feel like it's mostly V and Jimin. it's like Friends Part 2, except with having a little bit of featuring Yoongi Hoseok in there.
Yeah, honestly, about the whole album in general, because how it was composed, I am glad that they had put the slower songs at the beginning, because how in typical albums they have the fast paced songs at the first, and then they move into the more slower songs at the end. So I'm glad that they switched it. They switched the old formula, and so we can get the slower songs over with, and then you can feel good that you can feel better when you get to the more popular retro beat into the second half after the skit interlude.
Yeah, it feels it almost feels like a journey. It feels like life goes on. Fly to My Room and Blue and Gray feel like the beginning of the pandemic, when we're kind of sitting here oh my God, what am I doing? What's happening? We're all in that depressing state. And then for them, it hit once they got the Billboard Hot 100, and then it kind of goes more to this
celebratory
mood, because the album itself goes from Stay to Dynamite, and that transition from the end of Stay into Dynamite works somehow, and I don't know what magic they used, because it just fits so well. And Dynamite just at this point, I'm Dynamite is totally a BTS track. It is in its place within the fandom, even though it is an English track. It has its place in the fandom. It just flows so well.
Yeah, it's a really good like celebratory ending song to like an album. It's like pretty much like what you can celebrate and can party with.
Well, I guess RM was talking when they were having their press conference. He was like, they wanted to have like when they were laying out the album, like they wanted to have like, because Dynamite, it feels like that song where at the end where at the show they always have fireworks going off and like it's like, you know, the big ending of the show, and it does feel like that at the end of the album. So like it feels like the celebration at the end. And it's,
I think my personal favorite was like going back. I think Telepathy was my personal favorite because I like how we shifted from after like the skit interlude into more of like the EDM beats, and I think Telepathy was like a really nice change into like the whole tune of the album. So that's my personal favorite.
That's your personal favorite. I have to give it a Disease. I have a thing for Hobie's tracks. I mean, I'm a sucker for Dynamite too, which is like the first.
You're biased, right?
Yes, I'm a Hobie bias. I know. I am a hoe for Hobie. But I mean, I love how he has these upbeat tempos, but then all his lyrics, like when he talks, especially with Hope World, like is very introspective and like makes you think. Yeah. So he's really good on like that dichotomy of like, you know, almost fooling the listener a little bit. Cause like he even said, like, I was reading an article today from the Weverse magazine, and he was talking about writing Disease, and he's like, it felt too joyful for me, and I'm like, this is kind of weird. Like I feel like I don't want to fool somebody, but I kind of like how he plays with like that fooling a little bit.
Yeah, so it's like the pump up kit. So like, you know, you can like jam with the tune and like the beat of the music, but when you read the lyrics, it's like it's really dark. So it's kind of like one of those like selections of like songs, like upbeat music, but like the dark subject matter.
Some darkness underneath that, you know, brightness. Yeah. So. Which it kind of actually, I think, explained Hobie in a nutshell. So, yeah. But yeah, Life Goes On is still going to be on my rotation. Still did not break, unfortunately, did not break the YouTube record for most views in 24 hours. I don't know how it would have, because I think on our feels after watching it the first time. I know I was crying. I was crying at that transition at the end when they go into the stage, because that stage, I swear to God, is one. Where they're in the black and white and the white suits and they're singing on the stools. I started crying because I'm like, this is where we should be right now in terms of 2020, in terms of like, you know, if we didn't have the pandemic, like we'd be, you know, enjoying normalcy. So I think it just kind of hit me at that point. So I was in my COVID feelings. I apologize. But I will say, I mean, there was a lot of, I know, trepidation, because again, it's very much them hands-on with this album. You know, obviously they're still very hands-on with the previous stuff, but this is like super hands-on for them. So there was obviously a little bit of trepidation, like, oh, how's it going to sound? What's it going to feel like? And it's honestly one of my favorite albums they've released as of late. So
that's good. Yeah,
it's up there with me in terms of like Love Yourself tier, in terms of like that album, because Love Yourself tier, I think is like top 1 or 2 albums of theirs, and this is very close to that. So
I think for me, it will take time. I like the songs. I like how it sounded like from the first run, but I think it will take me a bit of time to like really get into me.
That's all right. Personally, I mean, sometimes it'll hit you in the face eventually. So, but yeah, I mean, because they had this led up to a huge weekend for BTS, with the album dropping on Friday, because they had this drop Friday. On Sunday night, they performed in the American Music Awards, won 2 awards at the AMAs. They won for Best Pop Group Duo, as well as for Best Social Media Artist, which I feel like the Best Social Media Artist or Best Social Presence Awards now just becoming the K-pop award, because half the groups nominated are usually K-pop groups. Because I think it was
It's just some kind of like awards for like the Grammys. Like they'll give to artists because for the K-pop artists, because it's kind of hard for them to like I guess put like an Asian, like I guess like a quote unquote foreign group into like the ranks of like the American artists or even the European artists. So
we have our feelings. I could have a whole argument over the whole VMA thing last year when they just shoehorned in the whole K-pop best K-pop group after they stumped BTS from anything from Map of the Soul Persona. They did not give Boy With Love any love last year, but besides that, we also had Grammy nominations drop on Tuesday. And I honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I was worried. I was very worried because the Grammys have so many issues. They still have a ton of issues, I'm sure. As
so as any other awards, like it's not any other awards like the movies and TVs and all that.
Like it's obviously very insular, very white driven award, or at least the recording academy is very white driven. I know they've tried to include diversity, quote unquote, in the recording academy as of late, but lo and behold, BTS actually got nominated for a Grammy. As
a legitimate category, no less.
Yes, a
not
legitimate.
Like although social media, blah 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 blah, is legitimate.
It's not like what they had 2 years ago, because they technically got nominated for an award 2 years ago, but it was for the packaging for "Love Yourself" tier. So technically, it wasn't the group.
For a product, not the music itself.
It was for the product, the album itself. Which again, K-pop albums are beautiful pieces of art, and you should really start owning them. But. Because "Love Yourself" tier, seriously, some of the photos stuff in tier is insane. But this is an actual legit award. Like, this is best pop nomination. This is best pop duo group. This is a legit nomination. Yes, they did not get nominated for any of the big three, like album, record, and artist of the year. Like,
but this is a good start, though. Like, this is a good
yeah.
It's because they're slowly opening the doors for our K-pop artists to, at least be acknowledged.
And I hope so, because I know I was looking around on Twitter, because apparently a lot of people were like, Blackpink didn't get nominated for anything. Because obviously Blackpink's really, really big. I know the biggest snub, obviously, to come from the Grammys, and I know this is K-pop show, but this is the Grammys you're talking about, so it's very Western driven, obviously. Was that The Weeknd got no nomination?
I've heard about that. Come on.
Pardon me, language, shocked the fuck out of me, because Blinding Lights is, in his album, it has been like all over the airwaves. It is such a great album, and how that got no nominations shocks me. Like, especially as you have Justin Bieber coming in, who got a nomination for what was critically panned as one of the worst albums of this year. And the song Yummy, which, let's just put it this way, half the words of the song are yummy, got nominated for best pop solo. And they're like, and he's on Instagram talking about, oh, this was supposed to be an R&B album. So he's not basically taking the pop category seriously. It's like, wow, your privilege is showing. There's still so many issues with the Grammys. I mean, I'm happy that Megan Thee Stallion got a ton of nominations. Like, she deserves it for all her hard work. I think she's leading in categories. She's got quite a bit. I know she got best nominations for best new artist. For Savage got a bunch of nominations, which I love that song as it is. And so, and again, I'm shocked that BTS even got a nomination. Like, they got one, and I'm shocked that they got the one. And I'm super happy that they got the one. Would I like to see more? Would I like to see them getting a nomination for something in Korean? I would love to see that. But this hopefully... I know that Dynamite would be like a surefire for them to at least get some nomination or acknowledgement at the Grammys. I think that's why they made that song, just so they can make it into to the American awards. And but still, it's still a huge opportunity, like a really it just made just goes to show how K-pop is not some niche genre that's listened to by the minority. It's become a huge phenomenon worldwide, and you've seen the culture and how many reactions made by a lot of YouTubers reacting to a lot of K-pop songs. So it's pretty much a big thing now. And if you think it'd be some one-off fads with Wonder Girls Nobody or Size Gangnam Style, they think they it's just a lightning in the bottle and you can never be seen again. But BTS is just breaking those barriers, and I'm so happy that they're finally getting some shine and being acknowledged by the Westerners. Yeah, and then as I pointed out on my Facebook post, because I had to talk about this on Facebook today, and as Twitter was going off, what Min Yoongi says Min Yoongi gets, because it has been a running joke in the fandom that Yoongi, aka Suga, has been talking because he talks to like they wanted to go to the Grammys, they wanted the Billboard, being Hot 200, they wanted to be Billboard #1, they wanted the Grammy nomination. They've gotten them all now.
Yeah,
Mr. Damas is true, as they call him.
No matter if they win or lose that Grammy nomination, it's still a huge deal. I'm pretty sure like they're really like honored to be in those ranks.
If anything, if we can guess anything from the reaction video that they shared on Twitter earlier today, when they nomination, also shout out to basically the Maknae line plus RM. Well, I guess he's part of the Maknae line too, because he's the youngest of the Hung line. He's the middle child of the group.
He's the middle child, yeah.
So all the younger members were staying up to watch the nominations, because I think by the time they dropped the nomination, it was almost 3 a.m. in Korea, so they were up late to see if they got nominated.
For it, weren't they?
Oh, they were definitely waiting for it. Because you see Jungkook's like eyes once they realize, oh, it's the category we like submitted for. His eyes just get really wide and he gets really nervous. Also, shout out to June not attempting to break a remote because, he's known as being an uber klutz. But then I also love to, we did get a response also from Yoongi as he finally woke up, because it's, as we're recording, it's morning in Korea. And he's like, I really wanted to stay up, but I'm so tired from rehab, because he's currently still rehabbing his shoulder surgery. Yeah. But he's like, now I'm just using this as inspiration to get better quicker. It's like, oh,
yeah.
So I think I'm waiting for the inevitable live stream to drop sometime here soon, that they're going to be all 7 of them are going to be on, or maybe, I don't know if they'll make Yoongi come on, but I'm sure he will force his way onto that live, because
this is a huge so dedicated to his works. Like, there's no way he would want to miss all this.
No, he'll come in his whole freaking sling apparatus and everything, because he actually just was on a live last week, talking with everyone for like an hour, telling and he's doing really good for his surgery. So his completed rotator cuff surgery. So he's definitely doing good with that. But yeah, this is really big. I just also know, because if you're nominated, that means you get to perform, and I just want them to blow the freaking roof off with a medley of like their best Korean stuff. And just go straight Korean on them. I just want to go straight Korean on them. Straight Korean. That's what I want.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure if it correlates to everything, but I think you got to thank like the Academy Awards from a month ago, since like they put Parasite, a Korean film, into like the bigger categories, and including Best Picture, which they won. So I'm pretty sure that really inspired the Grammys to, I guess, like welcome BTS, and hopefully they would be able to put in other like K-pop artists like Blackpink, or even Twice, maybe EXO too.
EXO, Stray Kids, any of those bigger groups.
80s.
Which shout out to Stray Kids, also somehow making Time Magazine's top 10 songs of 2020, with as number 8 was Backdoor, which I'm like, did you not hear God's Menu? Although Backdoor is still a good song. I'm like, did you not hear God's Menu? Shin Menu is better. But still, Backdoor is still a really good song. Seriously, guys, I think K-pop is here to stay. Like,
this is the Korean invasion, want to run from it. How like the Beatles with the 60s, how they shaped like the music history. This is their year. This is the Korean invasion happening right here and now.
2020 is the start of the Korean invasion. If you're gonna get anything come from 2020 besides the pandemic, it's the start of the Korean invasion. So, obviously you see it, because you've seen it too with just also reaction. Like, okay, also because again tying to Korean culture, biggest shows on TV right now are The Masked Singer. That's a Korean show. It's from Korea. Guys, Korean influence is coming everywhere. Like, you can't escape it anymore. So,
even Baekhyun was really happy about like BTS. Like he talked about like in the interview how he's so proud and happy how BTS like is coming up and like being so popular and well beloved worldwide. He talked about them, and I just even Kai too, like in like this show that he's in, I Live Alone, he even had a picture of him and Jimin hanging out recently. Like, I want more like other groups like like interacting. Like, why do we have to have like these like fan conflicts standing one group? Like, let's all live and just hang out with each other.
I'm going to quote Jay Park, because Jay Park was just on the K-pop Daybach show last week with Eric Nam. He's like, and he talked about, he's like, like, because on the K-pop, like what you like. If you don't like it, don't interact with it. Like, just like what you like you don't have to be a hater. It's so much energy to be a hater. Just like what you like. And that's why I love seeing interactions between groups. Like, I live for these interactions.
Let the artists live. If they want to hang out with other people, like, don't like get angry at them. Like, why are you hanging out with this group? Like, hey, it's their life too.
I know. Seriously, let the whole. I love the whole 97 group. The group of friends.
I want to see like more Jungkook and Jaehyun because they really like similar to each other.
And I think isn't like Mingyu and DK and like all them from 17 are in that group too.
Yeah.
My favorite friend group now is Yeonjun from TXT, Woo Young from ATEEZ, Changbin from Straight Kids, and I think they're friends with another member from Astro too. Like, they are all really, really close friends with one another. So like, I love these friendships, like intergroup friendships. So I would love to like form like some kind of like lines with like our community. Like, I know like I'll have a bunch of friends from the 89 or born in 89, so I'm gonna have all of you guys like call the 89 line. Let's have a good chat. I've yet to find a good idol from the 89, I feel like. So who's from the 89 line? So I will eventually find one.
Something
I would have to guess at this rate. I mean, I'm old enough. Yeah. But I guess we've talked a lot today, but we probably should wrap it up. We've gone a pretty long time today. This is a jam-packed episode. Yeah, we missed a week, so we had a lot to catch up on. We had a lot to catch up on. Also, I guess, too, before we close up for the episode, I also want to give hoping everything's good. Found out last week, too, that Song Min-gi from ATEEZ is currently taking a break. He had a bit of some mental health issues pop up, some anxiety come up, and so he's stepping away from the group for a little bit and just kind of, hopefully relaxing, and I'm hopefully wishing all the best. I have a feeling as ATEEZ is super, super gung-ho, it's like 8 or nothing. I think if they delay their next album, I'm totally fine with that. I would like to see all 8 of them happy.
Definitely give them time,
yeah. So I'm hoping all the best for Song Min-gi.
Yeah, and also, can I give like some good shout outs for this episode?
Sure, go for it.
Yeah, so I have like some friends and family member who will be celebrating their birthday pretty soon. So the first one will be my little sister Tabby, who will be celebrating her 20th birthday tomorrow from this recording time. And yes, and I want to thank her so much because she's like the one who really, I guess, like showed me like the way to K-pop, even though I mocked her for it at the beginning. So yeah, I take blame for it. Now she's like so mad at me because I'm into the genre now. I'm like, wow, why are you copying me? Anyways, yeah, shout out to her for being such an influence to me and also like sharing the same birthday and year as Shotaro from NCT. So they're birthday twins, and that's her new her new bias.
Oh no! Are they like tied to born on the same day, same year? That's insane.
Yeah, same day, same year. So they're birthday twins.
Oh, and my goodness!
Also to Philip Arrington, a Facebook friend of mine who is also a K-pop fellow friend and ally. So yeah, shout out to those two birthday celebrants. Happy birthday! Yeah. Love you guys.
Happy birthday, you two. But I guess before we go, do you have anything you want to plug, Ginny, besides birthdays?
Well, so you can follow me at Ginny Liano on Facebook, Instagram for my design page at Ginny Designs, or you can follow me for my personal IG and Twitter at RCL Imegojin, RCL_Imegojin. And Jenny?
And you can find me on Facebook. Just search for Jenny Matisek. That's Jenny with an I. You can also find me on Twitter and on Instagram at Chaos Bulldog. Just, again, usually more K-pop craziness and mostly annoying and mostly been tagged in memes from my boyfriend. So, but yeah, this was a great episode to catch back up with things because it's been insane. And now we're kind of getting to the tail end, but we have a huge week coming next week between GOT7 and Hyphen and Kai
Solo. That's what I call it.
it's going to be a crazy Monday post holiday, post Thanksgiving holiday, because we're about to celebrate Thanksgiving here in the States. So hope everybody too has a great and amazing Thanksgiving who celebrates it in the States. If you do, stay safe. You know, COVID's still out there, guys. Please stay safe during the holidays. But yeah,
Celebrate
we'll be back
wisely.
next week. Celebrate wisely, drink wisely, drink responsibly. Talk about K-pop responsibly too. But yeah, we'll be back next week with more music releases, and I think we're gonna start talking about end of the year awards and stuff, because we're gonna start getting to all that fun stuff.
You think we're gonna be doing like some top 10 albums, I guess? Or
I think we start looking at top 10 songs and top 10 albums from at least what you and me have listened to. So we may start thinking about that. So with that, fighting.
See
See you guys next week.